I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen at the end of March 2026 when Azure removes default outbound internet access. Nothing, absolutely nothing will break. And you'll think that people like me have been overreacting. But then, a few days later, you'll be deploying a new network and you can't build an AVD host pool in it, your Windows VMs won't activate, Intune can't sync those devices, and Windows Update is just broke. And that's when you'll be glad you watched the rest of this video. Now, this is the most fundamental change to happen to Azure in its over 15 years of existence. But it's also kind of sneaky because Microsoft isn't doing anything to impact your existing virtual networks and VMs. But all the new ones that you create after March,
what? No soup for you!
And that's why this is sort of dangerous, because you're going to have two halves of your cloud that function differently. So I suggest for your own personal sanity that you configure everything so it functions the same way as soon as possible. And Nerdio's already taken care of the hard part through a feature called scripted actions. Now there's almost 100 of these things, and these aren't community scripts. They're tested and supported automations that wire right into Azure and work the right way every time. In Nerdio Manager, go over here to the automations and then click scripted actions. And these are the Windows-based scripts, which basically means PowerShell. You can search for anything here like optimizing Windows, installing Teams, configuring session timeouts, or even enabling FSLogix with Kerberos authentication. You just click over here to see what's in it, and you've got the name, description, and tags, and this is a Windows script. And this will take your Azure files, set it up with Kerberos auth, and you're good to go. And you can certainly copy out the script and then tweak it for your own needs. Then we have a section for Azure runbooks. And you've got things like testing your outbound connections or assigning public IPs to your VMs, which is certainly one way to get internet access back. And they're basically similar to the Windows scripts. So if you look through the code here, we're going to need the name of a VM and the resource group. So let's back up, then click the three dots here and choose Run. Pick your subscription and then give it the name and the resource group, and you can click Run. And while this method definitely works and is fully supported by Microsoft, I really wouldn't do it this way. Because there's two problems with assigning public IP addresses. First, you have to manage each one individually, which is a lot of work. And secondly, because they don't just let you out to the internet, they let traffic in. So you need to do a whole lot to make sure that the bad guys don't get in while you're not looking. Now, if you have a firewall and all your internet traffic goes through that firewall, you probably don't need to do anything. But firewalls can run into a problem called SNAT port exhaustion, where your cloud PCs still can't get to the internet because the firewall is too busy. So the best way to fix all of this is with something called the Azure NAT Gateway. Its whole purpose is to give you scalable outbound internet access with over 1 million SNAT ports. And it also works better than a firewall to close those ports when they're done being used, so you don't run into SNAT port exhaustion. And you can even combine a NAT gateway with your firewall and have the best of both worlds. Now, before we can deploy the NAT gateway here, we need to make sure you've got two things. On the left, scroll down and go to your settings and then environment. On the Azure tab, scroll down to the linked resource groups. Because we're dealing with a new deployment here, those traditionally should go into new resource groups, and we have to link that group so that Nerdio can manage it. Then scroll back up a little bit to the linked Azure networks. And we need to add a link here so that Nerdio knows which VNet and subnets it is allowed to control. With those in place, go back to your scripted actions and to the runbooks, find your NAT gateway, click the three dots and run. Select your subscription and your details, and this is where the NAT gateway is going to be attached, and then just run it. And then you can pop over to Azure and check it out. New NAT gateway, and it's assigned to the subnet that you asked for. And the beauty of the NAT gateway is that it supports up to 800 subnets at once within a single virtual network, which only leaves one real question. What else do I have to do before my AVD hosts and cloud PCs can actually use the NAT gateway? Well, and the answer is sign back into your AVD host pool. And those hosts that used to be stuck are now activating, getting Intune policies and apps, and Windows Updates is doing its thing. No changes to the VM necessary, no reboots. The Subnet Association took care of everything for you. And that gives all the VNets in the subnets automatic access back out to the internet through the NAT gateway. So before March 2026 sneaks up on you, you better have a plan in place to get your NAT gateways deployed. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's something else that you need to know about the NAT gateways first, which you can learn about right here.